The wind blew softly through the empty streets of a small town on the outskirts of Oregon. The fog had just begun to settle in, swallowing the lamps, dulling the colors, and muffling every sound. On the edge of town, near the abandoned lumber mill, stood a crumbling wooden house, its windows boarded, its porch half collapsed, and its gate hanging loosely on one hinge. No one had lived there in years, except for one creature. He wasn't a threat, nor a ghost. He was a puppy, a small golden retriever, barely a few months old, with fur that shimmered like burnt honey when the sun occasionally broke through the clouds. But today, there was no sun, just that endless blankets of fog. Locals whispered about him. That dog's cursed, old Miss Lanning would say. Saw him sitting at the same spot every night, like he's waiting for someone. Kids dared each other to get close to the house, but they never made it past the rusted gate. Something about the way the puppy stared back chilled them to the bone. He never barked, never whined, never moved from the porch except once a day, at exactly 5:17 p.m., when he'd disappear into the fog-broken bar and return 10 minutes later. No one knew where he went, no one followed, no one dared, until Jace arrived. 17 years old, city-raised, and forced to spend the summer with his uncle after a fight at school. He thought the town was boring, backwards, and full of ghost stories made up by people with nothing better to do. He noticed the puppy on his first walk, sitting quietly on the porch, ears perked, eyes glassy but alert. "You lost?" Jace asked. The puppy tilted its head. For a moment, Jace felt something stir, like the dog had understood him, but the feeling vanished as fast as it came. He walked away. That night, he mentioned the dog at dinner. His uncle froze. "Spoon midair. You saw it?" "It?" Jace laughed. "It's just a dog." "No," his uncle said slowly. "It's not just a dog." The story poured out of a family that once lived in that house. A young girl who loved her puppy more than anything, and how one day, both vanished. No note, no signs of struggle, just a broken bar gone. "And the dog?" Jace asked. 3 days later, people saw it sitting on the porch. Same spot, same time, every day. And no one ever a broken bar like, adopted it? They tried, wouldn't leave the porch, refused food, wouldn't let anyone close. Some say a broken bar, it's waiting for the girl. Jace rolled his eyes. It's just scared, or trained, or both. But that night, sleep eluded him. The next day, at exactly 5:10 p.m., he stood behind a tree across from the house, watching. At 5:17 p.m., right on cue, the puppy stood up. Without a sound, it padded down the porch steps, past the gate, and into the thickening fog. Jace hesitated, his heart raced, but curiosity won. He followed. The fog was dense, clinging to his clothes, blinding him. He could barely make out the puppy at a flicker of gold against gray. They walked in silence for several minutes until the dog stopped. Jace found himself standing in front of a small, rusted shed hidden deep in the woods. Vines crawled up the sides. The door was ajar. The puppy pawed at it once, then looked back at Jace. Something in those eyes, or broken bar. They weren't just asking for help, they were pleading. Jace pushed the door open. Inside, the air was thick with dust and mold. But what he saw made him stumble back. A tiny bed, a cracked mirror, faded drawings on the wall, toys, old and chewed, and on the floor, a pile of bones, a small, fragilely broken bar and a locket. Hands shaking, Jace picked it up. Inside was a photo, a girl and her puppy, smiling. The same puppy. A cold realization slammed into him. The girl hadn't vanished. She'd been taken, kept, forgotten. And the Doga broken bar, he had seen it all, escaped, and waited. Every day, returning to the porch, hoping someone would follow him back to the truth. Jace stumbled out, ran to his uncle, and called the police. The story exploded. DNA confirmed the bones belonged to Lily Harina, the girl who vanished 10 years ago. Her abductor was never found, but what mattered now was closure. Jace became a local hero. The house was sealed off, the shed demolished. But the puppy? He never returned to the porch again. Instead, on the day Lily was given a proper funeral, he stood at the edge of the crowd, silent, watching. Then, as the last shovel of earth was laid, the puppy gave one single, long, haunting bark, a broken bar, and walked into the woods. He was never seen again. Some say he finally let go. Others believe he's still out there waiting for someone else to listen. But Jace knew the truth. That puppy wasn't cursed. He was loyal, too loyal to leave a broken bar until someone finally heard his silent bark.